next, an immigrant detention facility. We have a whistleblower in Louisiana who said that officials there are ignoring the COVID-19 safety guidelines. What is going on in this story?
Yeah, and for this, we get a little more of a clear picture of how staff, people who are running the facility, are essentially sacrificial to the management that is running this facility. So we see that the well-being of detainees is not important, but we also see that the employees are not really respected as well. The company is LaSalle Corrections. They're contracted by ICE to operate immigrant detention facilities. And apparently, according to whistleblowers represented by the Government Accountability Project, they have not been following COVID-19 safety guidelines. These whistleblowers, or the Government Accountability Project, say that 15 officers, 72 detainees have the virus. There are 2 officers who worked at the facility who died in April, but the company never disclosed or acknowledged their deaths. On March 11th, the governor issued a public health emergency for this facility. We're talking about Richwood, the Richwood Correctional Center inside of, it's in Louisiana. And the staff, however, was told that they were prohibited from wearing masks until April 8th. And by then, several detainees and staff were already infected. This is according to a letter that was written by GAP to, I believe, members of Congress, a warning of this issue. Richwood's health service administrator allegedly said 2 days after the governor declared an emergency that COVID-19 was not a big deal, no worse than the flu, and in fact, employees who had flu shots had no right to complain about the need for extra precautions. And then you have the detainees. Sick and healthy detainees were often held together and are transported in the same vehicles. And we're talking about small vehicles, not buses. Detainees threatened a hunger strike because officers were not wearing masks around detainees who had COVID-19. And the whistleblowers further report retaliation for raising these health and safety concerns. There's been firings or people who are forced to resign. Allegedly, at least 10 staff were fired under the guise of not passing a background check. And then we have this detail from a whistleblower. Detainees who tested positive for COVID-19 were deported by plane, and, quote, LaSalle transported them to the Alexandria staging facility in the same vehicle as healthy detainees. A whistleblower said that when the airline complained, Warden de Bellevue justified the risk by alleging that the infected patient's test results were a, quote, false positive, end quote. Continuing, ICE reported on their website that ICE Air brought U.S. citizens and residents back to the United States during the outbreak on the same aircraft used to deport immigrants. So I don't know what this does for you and your choices of travel, but it certainly seems like ICE Air is not a good way to fly during COVID-19 because they may have transported immigrants who had the virus, and it's not clear that they know how to sanitize their transports so that it doesn't continue to spread to other people. So if you're stranded somewhere and you have to take ICE Air, you should probably find another way back to the country. Which is a sarcastic way of saying that it really looks like they have been very flippant and not cared too much about how coronavirus is spreading in this particular facility.